The setting, we are in a garden, present day. Dottie, sitting on the ground next to the flower bed, digs and pulls.
I just don't find that humorous. It's trash, just trash. Children just shouldn't be allowed, and that's not half of it. Oh, come out of here, weed. Where's that mama's good sense? Just up and left her. Come here, you get away from my bulbs. Oh, it's gonna rain, sure as I'm standing here fuming. I've got to get finished before I get soaked.
Lillian goes into her garden. She stops when she sees Dottie, but walks ahead slowly and quietly to her flower bed.
You better hurry up, it's gonna rain any time. There's an overgrown mess of weeds next to my fence. And what have you been up to? I haven't seen you for 3 or 4 days. It's a wonder the grass hasn't come clear across my... Well, anyway.
Have you seen any snakes out here?
No, not today, not yet. But I just get my shovel and knock them in the head, and I throw them in the compost pile. Then they don't bother me. You're such a...
I can't do that. I'd rather just leave them be and just stay inside. Hurt no living thing. Nor harmless worm that creeps. Oh, you know.
Uh-huh. And that's why your yard looks like it does. You'd rather talk pretty about snakes than do something about them.
Lillian bends down on her knees to pull weeds.
Your magnolia tree has been dropping leaves all over my front yard again. And we're going to have to put up a fence in the front. The wind blows all the leaves over here, and I can't be out every day picking up leaves.
The wind blows where it blows, Dodie. Perhaps that would be the best. I wish Lawrence were here.
Well, he's not. He's dead and gone. You have to keep your leaves on your side. Lord knows I had my battles with Lawrence and his leaves. And I guess the battle goes on.
Yes, I suppose it does.
Are you going to work, or did you just come out here to survey all that you own?
Dodie, how you do go on. I just came out here for some air and to look for snakes.
Well, use some muscle, for God's sake. At that rate, your weeds will be all over.
I could hear you yelling out here earlier. Was your son visiting again? Does he ever stay home?
Well, Andrew was here, yes, replacing a light bulb in the front porch. Not that he did it right. I had to tell him 4 or 5 times how to do it. He tried to bring me a hamburger. It had mayonnaise. I hate mayonnaise. I told him I had made soup. He just ordered me inside, and Chelsea was in the living room watching some trash on television.
Oh, why do her parents allow that? It seems to me like that child is out of control. Perhaps she has special needs.
Well, her mama lets her. I just couldn't believe it. It was some cartoon, some dog. He gets his head caught in a fence. At least that's what you think. Really, he's at some fair or amusement park. And anyway, those big balls like you throw at milk bottles, they are bopping him on the head, and then you see his backside, and somebody on the other side of the fence is throwing darts. And my granddaughter is just sitting there giggling as so silly. And no, she's not special in that way.
Well, she is 6, but you're right. All that television is nothing but nonsense. I cannot believe they allow kissing like that every night, and sometimes even during the day. They rub their mouths and who knows what else all over each other. I just have to turn it off. I mean, can't they just give a nice little peck or skip it all together?
Did you and Lawrence skip it all together?
Well, of course we skipped it. Even before he got sick. It was so unnecessary. Chelsea, did you tell me your granddaughter's name was a family name?
Oh, heavens, no. I don't know where her mama picked it up. I think it was on a TV show with like detectives in it. I hope she wasn't named for one of the criminals they threw in jail.
Women of breeding used to have such nice names like Lydia, Penelope, Beatrice, Hortense.
Hortense? What did they call her for short? Horton? Tense? No, there's just no good way around that one.
You could pronounce it like the French. Hortense.
Do you know anyone with that name? Of course you don't. No mamas can just look down at a little baby's face and know that Hortense is probably the worst baby name ever conceived. They might as well have named my granddaughter Tiffany with 2 E's.
Names like virgins and... What is your real name? I mean, it's really not Dodie with 2 E's, is it?
My name is Doris Daphne Baggerly Smoot.
Oh, how lovely.
Well, my father shortened it to Dodie so my brother could say it.
Of course he did, dear.
I just can't get this. I'll have to get Harry to pull it out next Wednesday when it comes. You need to get him to help you in your yard since you can't seem to get it all done.
I suppose it's the right thing to do at this time of life.
Hush that talk. You're still a young woman. I talked to my cousin, Ludi Baldwin, last
Oh,
week.
Ludi, now that's another precious name.
Well, I'm sure it's short for Lavinia.
I don't think any Lavinia in the history of the world shortened her name to Ludi. I'd much rather believe it comes from ludicrous.
Anyway, she called last night and she said she has had so many nice young men to stop by.
Oh?
You know, she's selling beer by the can now, right at her front door. So convenient, you know. $1 a can. She can't beat 'em away with a stick.
That is illegal as well as tawdry. That is ludicrous. White trash.
Well, it can't be because she is making money over hands over fists. And it's going to pay for her new freezer and a Caribbean cruise. Ooh. I'm getting so rickety. You know, I really miss having a man around.
Well, I'm perfectly happy alone.
Don't you miss being held close at night and being loved real hard?
What filth and foolishness! Certainly not. If you ask me, it was messy, smelly, and more trouble than it was ever worth.
Well, going to the beach is kind of like that.
No, just sex. Even the French call it the little death.
Well, then, you all weren't doing it right.
No, he never did.
But your husband was a good man. I miss him.
Oh, I remember. Y'all were as thick as thieves. You know, you probably miss him more than I do.
I always said he was a gentleman. One of those men who always smelled good. He always had a handkerchief.
He never used it.
He could grow golden azaleas.
I had to
better than
remind him
anybody.
to fertilize my tulips all the
Oh,
time.
Lily, and he was always in the yard.
Because he didn't want to be in the house
Well, he was good with his hands.
in the dirt with the squash bugs and the pumpkin beetles.
He built that little gazebo out there. I bet it's been standing for 40 years.
It's an eyesore. I just need to get somebody to tear it down and haul it off, I guess.
You will not. It's doing no harm. Just leave it. I know he built you some beautiful, well, not exactly to my style, but some lovely furniture. A desk, some candlesticks, a dresser.
It's just some wood he glued together. He really built it for himself to keep his socks tidy.
He had tidy socks?
Well, he did after the first 2 weeks we were married. He never told you this story. I am surprised.
No, he never did.
He ran to tell you most everything else.
Oh, well, go on.
It was 1960, of course, and he left his socks everywhere. Bathroom, bedroom, living room, even in the garden. I spent entire days just looking for and picking up his dirty socks. So one day, I just showed him. I found his socks in the kitchen. He had been in the garden all morning, and he'd gotten all undressed, naked, in front of God and man, and of course me, right by the washing machine. I took those socks, brand new, mind you, and I cut them in half. I laid them back in his shoes, sticking out so you couldn't tell. Then I wrote a little note and placed it on top like this little cake decoration, like a little paper swan. Dear Lawrence, I do not enjoy discovering your undergarments everywhere in my house. Please put them in the proper container. That way the maid has to touch them but once.
So you cut them in half?
I just said so, didn't I?
Well, maybe that's why he started building things outside.
All those ridiculous tools took up the entire garage.
He did have a mess of them. Don't you believe they made him happy? Especially after he got back from Vietnam.
He even replaced them when they were stolen. Ridiculous. Ludicrous.
I used to laugh. Him in the garage and you yelling for him. The whole neighborhood could hear, but you would just holler, and he just stayed wherever you put him, like on a shelf or something. Everybody really got a kick out of it.
Well, I'm so glad I could provide amusement for the neighborhood. He got so deaf he couldn't even hear me when I screamed for him to come to supper. Carmen would spend all afternoon over a hot stove, and he would come in hours after I put it on the table, and I just let it lay there, cold on his plate. He never even once asked me to warm it up. Oh, he was so deaf, so pitiful.
Maybe he heard what he needed to.
Speaking of people who don't listen, what's that daughter of yours up to these days?
You never have anything nice to say about her. What is that?
She was an odd child. She picked my flowers.
Lillian? She's 50 years old now. She did it one time when she was 4 and never did it.
You put them in a vase, right in the kitchen window, so I would have to look at them.
I thought it was a sweet thing to do so we both could see them.
They weren't your flowers.
I taught her not to pick mine.
She hid dead bugs in the cracks of the sidewalk and drew chalk arrows down my driveway, pointing the way to insect hell and bug this way and rigor mortis bugus.
I thought that was clever. She even asked our priest how to spell it.
It was a sarcophagus in concrete is what it was. It was inappropriate. And she knew I was Episcopalian and not Catholic. I always thought she had special needs too.
Oh, Lillian. Camille didn't kill them. She just thought dead things should be buried.
In front of my house. And she even sang a Catholic hymn.
Our sidewalk was way too gravelly for a cemetery. I did do something crazy, though, at her house last week.
Oh, Lord, what now?
Well, I've been having some female problems, and I usually see my regular doctor, but Camille said to go to her gynecologist. So I said, all right. Well, it's a woman, you know. Anyway, well, I wanted to be, you know, fresh, like on TV before I got there.
Oh, my God in heaven.
I stopped by her house to see if she had any spray.
Oh.
You know, something called Country Breeze or Windy Mist or Caribbean Mama.
I don't think I want to hear this.
And, you know, I don't use my key often. It's not like I am barging in. Anyway, I found a can under her bathroom sink, and, well, I didn't have my glasses. I wasn't going to the eye doctor.
Oh, my.
Well, it was very cold, by the way. Very. I felt a little frosty down there.
Oh, my.
Well, I went on to the doctor, I got up on the table and into those spurs.
Stirrups.
Yeah, well, something Western and leathery. Anyway, do you know what she said? To my face? Well, not really to my face, but still.
Ooh, get on with it.
She said, my, aren't we fancy?
She said, what?
My, aren't we fancy?
Whatever for?
Well, and this is the amusing part. See, Camille didn't have any spray freshness. She had glitter hairspray.
Oh my, that cannot be true. That is an urban myth. That is the most
I don't know what you call it, but I called it a sticky mess. I also started having a hot flash right on the table, right in those spurs.
Oh my Lord.
And it wasn't fresh at all.
That sounds like TV or talk radio trash to me.
Oh, now I know what you're talking about. I bet you watched that episode of Dr. Oz on TV, too.
I certainly did not. I don't even know who that is.
Of course you do. It was that story about a woman who goes to see her doctor, and he finds My Little Pony stickers attached to her, you know, her giddy-up cowboy.
Please stop. There is absolutely no reason to be vulgar.
On Dr. Oz's show, a woman had forgotten to buy toilet paper, and she grabbed the nearest
Can we
thing.
just change the subject to something a little bit less common?
Oh, you talk like you're so old.
I'm not old. I'm proper.
You've been proper since you were born. And where did it get you?
I'm not sure, but I am sure it was somewhere top drawer, upper strata, somewhere more than ordinary. Just think what you let your children drag home, trash and dragons.
Dottie goes to get a tray of pansies.
Like dragons? What?
Like at those birthday parties, the ones with all the fires. And you have them every year.
Oh, Lillian, birthdays come every year, and most people call them barbecue or cookouts. They're celebrations.
They made so much smoke.
I remember Camille and Andrew used to scream and holler, and you called the fire department every year.
Well, they were hazards.
They were children, and hot dogs were on those sticks. Even Lawrence came over to get a hot dog once in a while, if you weren't looking.
Unnecessary, if you ask me. Oh, and don't even start explaining about the black ones.
Are you talking about burned hot dogs or the children?
Dogs, cats, bugs, blacks. Y'all just brought home just about anything.
They were our guests.
Oh, is that why you had a barbecue? So they wouldn't have to go inside your house except to use the bathroom? I never. Oh, and besides, do you know your daughter is a lesbian?
She is not. My people are from Nashville.
What?
You just say that because she has dark features like Danny Thomas. He's a lesbian, and it doesn't matter. Those people in Lebanon are Christian people, and I send a check to St. Jude's Children's Hospital every month, whether they call me or not.
You do not know anything. You do not know anything at all about.
You never do anything. You never walk. You just sit. You never barbecue. You just eat. You never have company. You just collect antiques. You never smile. You just squint at the sun. You never even garden. You just poke in the dirt.
Mama used to say I was delicate not to get dirty.
You're 75 years old. You haven't been delicate since 1950. Your mother is
My mother could plant firewood and make it bloom. My mother said that anything could be accomplished after you put on a little lipstick. My mama said I always had impeccable taste.
Oh, I don't care if your taste is impeccable or peccable. My mother's garden gave meaning to the stars, and her flowers were pickable.
I'm not Lawrence. I won't pander to your whims for silly conversations or for flowers or for other things.
What does that mean? What does it mean?
It means that he brought you more than cuttings from my yard.
You should be ashamed. We were like sister and brother. We were best friends. He never
That's
touched.
all. That is all. That was worse. He could have put his shoes under your bed. I wouldn't have cared. In fact, I begged him to put his shoes under your bed.
Lillian, you didn't.
It would have been all right with me. But what was worse was that he talked to you. He listened to you. He would steal out to meet you in that damn gazebo.
I needed someone to talk to. I was lonely. Dan's been dead so long.
But I was still alive in the house. Buried alive in the house.
Lillian, stop. He's gone. And you didn't seem to like him all that much anyway. And if you think too much, you'll go crazy. That's why I'm out here digging. So I won't think too much. So I won't think. I don't know why I waste time out here. I need to put more Kiss Me Over the Garden Gate back there by the gazebo fence. And I have Love Lies Bleeding, too. Do you want some?
No. They're just wildflowers, nothing but weeds. I'm still pulling out that cat's claw that Lawrence planted last year. No, please don't go. Not just yet. It's so humid, and I'm parched like an old like an old dog.
It's supposed to rain.
I want you to know that I cry every day.
Well, that's a good waste of water, if you ask me. Lean on over there and rain on that dry dirt of yours.
So how did you do it? When Dan died, it must have been unpleasant. I brought you a cake. Do you remember?
Oh, that was so long ago. Who remembers little things like...
It was an angel food cake with pink icings and little brown sprinkles on top.
Yeah, I remember it was a little dry.
I sent cut flowers, too. I did 2 things.
Oh, yes. Yes, 2 things. And I'm sure they were lovely.
I didn't receive a note.
Well, Camille took care of those.
I never got the courtesy of a reply.
Oh, Lillian, it's been 10 years.
It's never too late for good manners. I sent notes right away.
Yes. You certainly are on the ball. I got mine yesterday. You haven't even begun to grieve, have you?
What in the world are you talking about?
Have you?
I beg your pardon. Perhaps I'm already done with it.
You're done grieving?
Dodie, you look really silly digging your bare hands in the dirt with those big floppy garden gloves sitting on the pail. Those look as if they're not even yours.
Well, they belong to Lawrence. I found them on the trash heap. They really are too big. Don't you want them, Lillian? You can have one back.
One of his gloves.
Then we both have a little bit of...
You can have his gloves. I had him.
Did you?
Yes, Dodie. And now I've planted him too, for once and for all, in a place where you can't get to him. Did you wash them at least? I mean, I just know they were pretty smelly.
How he would sweat. Well, maybe I will and maybe I won't. But what about those magnolia leaves?
I'm going to take care of those leaves, Dodie, just as soon as I get out of these filthy clothes, wash my hands, and eat a little sandwich. I'm going to call your yard man.
Harry?
Yes, Harry. I suppose I'll give him cash. I have no idea why he won't come work for me.
Lillian, it's better to bless the world than to curse it.
Yes, Dodie, it's better. But the leaves are going to blow, and the weeds are going to grow up through the mulch no matter what.
It's getting late. I can't be out bothering with you. I've got to get a bath. Mr. Bradshaw asked me to the opera, La Boheme.
Mr. Bradshaw asked you?
Yes, why?
Oh, I never liked that man. He has the face of a Chicago gangster.
Well, Lawrence was very fond of Mr. Bradshaw. Spoke of him often. You know, they divided their lilies, shared them.
The opera is called La Boheme. You never pronounce the H. Oh, I hope you're going to run a comb through that hair.
Beauty shop. Dolores at 3.
And your nails. Look at those. Such a shame.
Manicure at 4:30 while I'm under the dryer.
Whatever will you find to wear?
Mr. Bradshaw said not to worry about that. The costumes would be on the stage. I'm wearing the dress I wore to Lawrence's funeral.
That Mr. Bradshaw must have gotten free tickets pretty high up in the balcony.
It doesn't matter. It's my first opera. I just feel giddy like a schoolgirl.
They all die at the end.
Oh, honey, we all do. Lillian, did Lawrence ever take you to the opera?
Certainly not. Why should he? The only good opera is in New York. I wouldn't waste my time at the one here. My mother took me to New York many times when I was just a girl. My, that was something. And then we went for a little supper.
But don't you wish you had seen one, like when you were all grown up?
Whatever for? There are no new operas.
There's no new water either, but that doesn't mean I don't have a mighty thirst for it.
And those long arios and dance numbers. Oh, do not fall asleep and embarrass the poor man.
I don't even do that in front of the TV.
Dodie, you know you won't understand a word. It's not in English, it's in French.
I think they sing it in Italian. It's by a man named Puccini.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, well, maybe tomorrow you can drop by for tea, if you don't stay out all night.
Lillian, I haven't set foot in your house for years.
Yes, well, you can let me answer all of your questions about the opera. I'll explain everything you didn't understand. I need to go in. I hope you have a marvelous time, but call me before you come over.
Lillian exits.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to dancing on your grave. I love these gloves. Beside the garden wall, when stars are bright, you are in my arms. The nightingale tells his fairy tale, a paradise where roses bloom. Oh, Lawrence, what did you used to recite to me? That old poem by Mr. Robert Frost. What? Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night. And if you try and tear down that gazebo, you'll have to step over my cold, rickety body to do it.